Welcome back to the R.I.S.E Speaker Series. Today, I have an amazing guest with me today, Joe Michaels. He's an 8-time Emmy Award winning director. I know that's a lot. It's a mouthful to kind of take it, but he's had 40 years at NBC Sports and NBC News, several years directing the Today Show. But thank you for coming on today, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, bud. Anytime.
So the first question I kind of want to ask you is walk me through, how education may have helped you or any other steps that you took outside of the classroom to get to where you were at NBC.
Well, I guess all through high school, junior high and high school, I was interested in music and media, basically. When I went to college, I was a communications major. And back in those days, which was a long time ago, communications major was a little bit of radio and television and public speaking and writing, not so defined as it is today. And I just loved every bit of it. There was nothing about it I didn't like. Throughout college, I ran rock concerts and did a lot of photography and we didn't have video cameras the way we have them nowadays on each one of our phones, obviously. But I was always interested in it. So I pursued it. When I graduated college, there was a great program at NBC in New York, Page program, which still exists. And I got into that program, which I guess would be similar to today's internships. We gave tours. We were ushers at TV shows. We were at special events. And I just got a look at everything that was going on within NBC. And I watched a game show one day and I said, boy, whoever that guy is there in the middle of that front deck, I'd like to be that guy. And that was the director. And I worked my way up over many years.
Well, that's incredible to hear that you had already had that interest, boiling up inside you in high school. And that's what, you kind of want to aim for. Now,
Right.
Going and fast forwarding to when you're working at NBC, whether it was news or sports, what was kind of the 3 best qualities that you saw in yourself and maybe your colleagues for that industry?
Well, I think one of the best, and this goes for almost every business, but I think you never stop learning. That's the first thing that I think you really have to understand. You have to be someone who always is interested in what you're doing and never want to stop learning, especially in the media business, which changes daily. You never know enough, and that urge to learn is probably the most important thing. Another thing is to listen to everybody. The constant advice and your bosses, I mean, colleagues, you have to listen to people and get a real taste of what's going on at any given time. So those 2 are my biggest, two biggest ones. You have to learn how to get along with people and deal with people. And those 3 things hold true in every business, but in media especially, things change so fast that you have to be ready for them. You have to be ahead of them. And whether it be in technology, because the technology changes constantly, or whether it be in sports or news gathering, things change constantly and you have to be there for it. So I think those 3 things are the most important qualities.
Yeah, those are great qualities for people to learn by. And I know you're a professor at High Point University now, where I went to school, so you're my professor at some point. I know it's your favorite.
I'm actually going into my 6th year this year, which is absolutely amazing. I retired probably about 8 years ago, and never thought that I would be teaching, but I absolutely adore it.
And so you've been keeping up. I know you taught me, keeping up with all the technology and how it's changing. So, during this pandemic, what are some of the ways you believe broadcast and media companies could benefit and how they've changed, especially with no sports going on right now?
Well, the sports thing is a real big problem, obviously. Events, special events are a problem. News events. The president just had an event recently that a lot of people were afraid to go to, I guess. These are changing times, and you have to keep up with them. Look at what happened with the virus, with the coronavirus, how everybody adapted to being online right away. None of us spent this much time online, maybe a few conference calls here or there, but we've learned how to get online. We've learned how to adapt to that. Just a quick example in in education, we learned how to teach online really quickly. Some of the things that we did online are things that now I will incorporate into my classes as exercises. Corporations have learned how to do this. The media has learned how to do this. I think the bottom line of all this, look at the NFL draft. I mean, that's a perfect example of who would have ever thought, and how great was it, you know? So so we've learned how to adapt, and each industry, especially the media industries, have learned how to come up with things a new way. And I think that's fabulous. And I think we're learning a lot. Again, we go back to that learning. We're hit with a crisis and we learn new ways of doing things. And
And you're talking about your classroom being online. So, how do you feel about how, media industries, they're beginning to do all these interviews through Zoom, just like we are right now, and how that's changed and how that might change for the future of interviews?
well, it's been changing anyway because of the YouTube world, but it is funny because I'm from a generation where quality mattered. The look of the camera and the look of and the sound of the audio, that really mattered. And content mattered too, but they all mattered together to make a really great piece. I think we're learning that content really is king. And even though our cameras are not the greatest when we're talking like this on Zoom, we're still able to relay really good content, which is really what's really important to people. Obviously, the film industry will be back hopefully this summer, and we'll have some fine films and some fine TV shows with great quality. But I think content is the most important part of communication and media.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Michaels. I really appreciate your time this morning.
Anytime, bud. Anytime.